Well, we are back again for another one of these. What's it been? About 3 months, I believe, since we last done one of those, which was, let me just pause this. All right, there we go. But yeah, it's been like 3 months, I believe, since we done Mission Impossible 7, I want to say. How's it going, Biffa? So yeah, it's been a while. So I'm kind of bringing these back, going back to I suppose older films mainly, aside from, it's kind of been quiet on the movie front for the most part. Well, we could have done Blue Beetle, but I don't think anyone gave a shit about Blue Beetle. So I kind of skipped that one. So I thought I'd kind of bring it back with a bit of a Halloween special, talking about the thing, and these are now being uploaded onto a different channel, sort of once the stream is done. That's where they're going. They sort of own, its own channel basically. So the link is in the description for that. So that's kind of what's happening with these. I'm probably going to do another one before October's finished, and then I've got a bit of a list of films that I would like to go through just for, to see if they do in fact hold up. So that's kind of what we're going for with that. But we got the thing, so I don't really see any point in just not kind of getting into it, I suppose. But I'm just trying to think where to start, really. I've got to get back into this, get back on the horse, trying to get through these. But yeah, we got John Carpenter's The Thing, a film. Believe it or not, I only watched about 2 years ago. I believe it was like the first lockdown. I'd heard lots of things about the thing. I thought, fuck it, I'll throw that on, and it ended up being my favorite fucking horror of all time. But yeah, it was only like 2 years ago, and I was just like, that's fucking great. I don't know why I waited so long to watch it. Part of the reason is I don't really watch a lot of horrors for the most part, up until recently. But it kind of depends. Is there more to it than, oh, well, we're just going to, throw a load of jump scares out there, your Paranormal Activities, your Insidiouses and all that, all that stuff. I don't really understand the craze around it, but that's kind of where horror went for the most part in recent years, is just, oh, there's demons and ghosts pulling you and jumping out. Whereas you go back to films, going back to horror films in the 70s, 80s, they're not necessarily scary. I suppose that's based on the sort of time you live in and things of that nature. But yeah, so that's mainly the reason I didn't watch it until years, 40 years later. And I just thought, this is a fucking great film. Even going through it to get my notes, I watched it like Tuesday night, and then I rewatched it again the day. And even when you're trying to take notes and things like that, you end up just keep getting drawn into it, because a lot of it is just how good the pacing is. Just the entire build up is just like really well done. So like every part, you're really pulled into it, just waiting to see, what kind of thing unfolds next, things of that nature. But yeah, it's just, even in the practical effects side of things, it's like, again, you watch films like this from back in these times when the main focus was the likes of practical effects, and then you kind of look over at modern day, and you just overhear them, oh, fuck it, down to the CGI dungeon, get the CGI slaves to, try and fix that. We're not really worried about getting it right, or things of that nature. And then you watch like the making of the thing, the practical effects designers and all that talking about it. It's just like the amount of stuff that goes into it. It just adds more value to it. It's very similar to, the likes of Tom Cruise doing his own stunts. It adds, a bit more value to it. So that's kind of what I see, especially with the practical effects in this film, because they still hold up to this day. There's really there's really not any, you know, putting holes in it. It's just watching it now. It's like, yeah, that looks real. It looks really well done. So even on that side of things, just practical effects are just really good. And even watching how they done certain things is like really interesting. Whereas now, you know, if you were to buy a DVD for, I don't know, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, you get the behind the scenes. You're not really getting much of that in terms of, you know, what they use for visual effects. You're not going to get that. Whereas watching behind the scenes stuff for a film like The Thing, there's so much stuff they can go into about it. There's just so much there that it just, you know, makes it a lot more interesting. Just kind of looking on that side of things. And then I suppose, you know, again, it's just, I suppose it's not really the horror that is the main focus, which is, you know, that's probably where certain films today have gone wrong, is that the horror is like, you know, it's the focus and the vocal part. You know, not that you can't have a mix, but that's, you know, that's kind of what I prefer about films like this. You know, there's more to it than just, oh, we're going to scare the shit out of you. You know, it's like you're watching kind of, you know, what I kind of get from the film I suppose it's more of a, you know, study of sort of human behavior. You know, you have this idea of, you know, they're up in the mountains in this like research facility. You know, there's a certain bond there, certain trust between them, and then you throw something in like The Thing, and then you just kind of watch how they sort of deteriorate. You know, that's really what's really interesting about this film. It is just that side of things. Is it is more about, you know, if we throw this time bomb into this group of people, what, you know, in what way are they going to react? So that's kind of really what you know, that's kind of the idea I think the film is going for. It is just the sort of human psychology, you know, what their reactions are, all those types of things. And they do it, you know, they execute it really well. Because that's probably my favourite part of the film, is when everything just devolves into fucking chaos. Nobody can trust anyone. You know, even people are kind of like doubting themselves, you know, has it taken over me? And I don't know about it. You know, that's honestly the best part of the film, I think. It's just the entire build up to that, when they finally start to realize, oh shit, you know, there's someone among us that isn't who they say they are. That's just, I just, even rewatching it today, I'm like, I've got to keep fucking watching that. It's such a good scene. But I suppose we'll jump into the film anyway. See what we, how's it going, Jordan? And see kind of what we get into. But yeah, even like, because I believe that this film, when it came out, it wasn't like received well. It was kind of a mixed response, and again, it's like a film that kind of found an audience, you know, in later years. Which is, you know, how many films can you say that about now? It's just like, you know, there's a lot of films out there now. It's like no one's, it's not going to find an audience in 20 years. It's just not going to happen. Whereas you got a lot of films from that period that do, you know, it kind of takes its time to really get out there, which is that's kind of what you get from the making of The Thing, is things like that. But I suppose I've been going on like almost 10 minutes, so we may as well dive into it, if I can find the right fucking thing here. All right, there we go. So, all right, I'm trying to figure out sort of where to go from here. I better skip a bit. So yeah, you start off with of course like the, you know, the, what do you call it, the spaceship, which I did see some of the, you know, the prop stuff with that. So you do see it, you know, go down there, and even, you know, see, because I watched the making of The Thing, I'm gonna be a fun fact machine. Like even like this title, you know, opening title, whatever. I think that was done with like a fish tank and, you know, something like that. So I think that's how that was made. But we can move along a bit. So, kind of what I get out of the, the opening part of the film, it seems like the first 20 minutes is essentially just, it's foreshadowing what is going to happen to our group. You have these crazy maniacs chasing down, a dog trying to shoot it. You're just kind of like, what the fuck's going on? And it's, even when they get to the site where the Norwegians are staying and all that, it's like, even things like that, it's just, it's showing us the sort of end result. And then, we're going to get to see, how did it get to that point? What was the, the situation that just caused, these crazy twats running about trying to hunt down this dog, and things of that nature. But I'm trying to get to, right. So yeah, you finally sort of get to this part. You get the, the dog running up. They're all just confused about, what the fuck's going on here. You kind of, because they're quite efficient in terms of their, of showing what jobs is it these people do. Yeah, you've got your mechanics and all that. You got your scientists. You got your pilot and all that type of stuff. So it does a good job at that. Just it does really. There is certain characters in this where it's like they have certain stuff for their character where it's like, yeah, you kind of understand why this character made this decision, why that character made that decision. I would probably say, especially with the Doctor, we've got to have it so we can go up and see, what's actually went on up at the Norwegian camp. And again, it's like where you have the Doctor who wants to go up there. He thinks, oh, well, these two crazy people, we find out, there was like 10 of them at once. And then, of course, he wants to go up there because he's like, what are these two maniacs? What could they have done to, to their sort of teammates? What could they have done? So even with things like that, it's like, yeah, that makes sense for how we get up there. The Doctor wants to fucking help people because he's a doctor. So even things like that, it just does really well. Yeah, no, again, the only thing I don't really get about this scene is the accidental, I've like thrown it behind me. I don't know how the fuck that happened. I suppose I would be critical of it, but again, it doesn't necessarily matter, considering the Norwegians can't speak English anyway. So even if they could, tell them, oh, get away from that fucking dog. It's done this, that, and the other. You've got the language barrier, and you've also got where people think, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You just sound fucking insane. So I think even with that, but yeah, I probably would be critical of it. But I suppose you can kind of be fine with it in the sense that, well, they are, they're fucking stir crazy here. They're insane. So you can understand mistakes like that happening. So you end up with some of the names I'm going to forget. So you end up with like that guy there getting shot. So so that's why you end up with Gary. That's why you end up with him. He's like, right, well, I got to fucking shoot this guy. And it's very, very, that's what you notice with this entire group is they're very, quick thinking. And that's kind of what you get with Gary. He's in charge for obvious reasons for what you see in this, but just how quick he is to, smash out the glass and then, take this guy out. And that's like, even with stuff like this, you notice just the sort of, they all kind of work in unison. They all work together to put this thing out. Even like situations coming up, that they're always working as a team. You've got that trust there at the moment. You've got that certain amount of bond, which again just makes it a lot better when you suddenly throw the thing into the situation. It's just the trust just crumbling. So we of course get all that. We find out things about, they establish, right, the radio's out. So otherwise that would bring up the criticism. Why didn't they just call someone? Um, so they kind of establish that. The one thing I do find funny is the fact that the guy that is soon enough gonna destroy all the radio equipment. He's the guy that's like, we need to contact someone. So I do find that that certain switch around quite funny. But yeah, I don't think I'm missing much here. So that's when they kind of, they find documents. They find out about the 10 people that are up there. Or well, they assume that they're up there. It's kind of the doctor that's like, based on the behavior of these two guys that just came down here shooting at a dog. I kind of wonder what the fuck's happened to the other Norwegians of the camp. So that's how we sort of justify going up to this camp. Is because the doctor, being a doctor, wants to make sure everyone's fine. Maybe find out what the fuck went wrong. And I mean, again, it kind of justifies it further for the fact that you've got this storm going on. So you can't, it's quite dangerous going up, but the doctor's like desperate to, he wants to help them if they need to be helped. But I do love the the sort of reaction you get just when they're like, right, we're Mac, get your things, we're gutted. He's like, yeah, for fuck's sake, just looking up. So they end up heading off there. Which they go straight up. Okay, now I've got to clear my throat. So, and this is kind of what I like a lot about this film is the dog especially. We actually have a look at the dog. I mean, I've got these other things popped up because if you actually, it's the look that's on that dog's in that dog's eyes. The dog is just like really great at just sort of showcasing the, it's very unnerving. Just the way the dog, the way the dog acts, it's just its eyes. That specific like scene, just the fucking pure. It's like, yeah, there's something up with that dog. I don't trust it, and I believe that's like because it was again in a lot of the making of, and it's like a half wolf, something like that. Named Jed. That's its real name, but they did a great job at getting that dog just to seem like, oh, there's something strange about this dog. Just with that, that look there, it's like, fuck me. Even watching it a second time round, I'm just like, that's just really good. Just to really get that sense of, there's something going on here. So I do quite like that. So you get a quick shot of it walking down, clearly looking for someone. You don't find out who it is. Even going through the film, it's like I can't necessarily figure out who it is. My guess is it's the I forget his name now. Not Blair. What was it? The other one. I forgot his name now, but we'll eventually get there, I suppose. So you get that. It's like, right, well, so it's, once you actually seen the film, then it's like, yeah, that's kind of when the first person has become infected by this. Or, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So you arrive at this place, and again, it's just, as I say, it's like the first 20 minutes is essentially just foreshadowing everything. It's just like, we see the end result. Now, how exactly, do we get there? So they come in here, it's, it's all burnt out and everything. Yeah, I know, yeah, Wilford, yeah, that's the doctor, yeah, Blair. No, I'm trying to think what the other character was. The character that, his head comes off. That's the one that I think is, like, the first infected. That's kind of my guess. You know, again, it's quite hard. You know, again, it can only be that, or maybe it's not. Again, it's like fucking almost impossible to really know exactly, just because you get a shadow basically. So they come in here, you know, it's all just eerie, axe in the door, covered in blood. So it's just really like, how the fuck did it, you know, how did it get to this point? Is what I'm really interested in seeing. So they go through. You got like a guy that's, you know, seemingly slit his own throat. You know, you got the shot of the the knife there. But yeah, just everything, you know, is just really, you know, pretty eerie. They do find the, what do they call it? A video. Let me see where it is, because I did write it down. I'm forgetting what the, yeah, a portable video unit. So that's for, you know, later on we get a bit more of the story of, you know, what were these Norwegians up here for? What exactly was their, you know, what were they testing? What were they, you know, what were they researching? So that's where you find a lot of that out from. You know, you find out stuff from the notes that the doctor picks up. So you know, they don't, again, there's no sort of laziness going on where they just randomly, we've got this video of the Norwegian team, which is, I mean, that's what a lot of movies would do nowadays. It's just go, ah, fuck it, they've just got it for some reason. So that's when you come in here and you get a good shot of this, you know, this big block of ice that has been cut out, and clearly it's as if something was in here, you know, something of some undetermined species, whatever it could be. So they're already just, you know, like, what the fuck, you know, what have they been doing up here? And then that's when they see the, well, you can kind of get a glimpse of the face, but you know, you got the kerosene all there. You know, they've, you know, again, it's, you know, there's a lot of stuff in here that you could say is like almost shot for shot, just like what they end up doing. You know, we of course eventually get to a part where it's like they're, you know, they got to burn all this stuff, burn the, you know, they burn, fucking hell. There's just so many names to remember. But they burn up one of the guys, and the sort of, you know, what's left of the other sort of specimens that they found. So they do see that, you know, the guy, like, you know, it's hard to really describe. It's just like a man with an extra face that's melted off. You know, that's kind of what it looks like. So you get them coming back. You got the, you know, dog still, you know, still without look in its eye. It's just like, what the fuck is this dog doing? You know, it's very, very aware of what's going on. So they come back with, you know, the things that they found, and then that's when you sort of get this, you know, you see it. You know, I really like the look of that, just the sort of steam coming off it, just because it's been in a fire. So, you know, we get all their reactions to it. And it is fucking gruesome, because we can get a good look at that. And that, I believe, that's made out of, what is it, rubber? Yeah, that's like, yeah, all rubber. I think what they used for the sort of blood, or, you know, not, is it blood really? Some of it's blood. I think a lot of what they used to that was essentially jam. From what I heard, that, you know, they just had loads and loads of big gallons of jam that they would use as the, like, all the sort of stuff dripping off it. But that's just, you know, again, it just looks like, you know, it's, you know, or it's two faces melted together. You know, it's hard to say. But I suppose, well, it's a bit easier to tell for the fact that it's, you know, when you see how the thing sort of, you know, changes, imitates, is you have more than one specific, you know, thing that is imitated. So that could definitely be part of it. So yeah, you get sort of that, their reaction to it. The doctor's like, you know, I want you I want you to cut this thing up. And again, it's just like you get the fucking dog there with a stare. It's like obviously just, you know, figuring out what's going on. So we get that scene of them cutting it up. You know, he pulls all the you know, they've got it's got normal organs and all that. So, you know, they're not sure what the fuck, you know, what the fuck this is. And I you know, again, I think they are trying to show, you know, the sort of sense that these people have, you know, being on this mountain, just being up here in Antarctica. You know, because I was kind of wondering what the sort of point in all this. What, you know, you've got them watching. You know, he gets up, he changes the. You know, they're watching their videos, all that sorts of stuff. You know, you kind of see how they relax. You know, how they. You know, you've got some in the rec room. You know, playing pool, cards. You got them watching their TV. So it again shows you sort of what it's like here. What the whole dynamic is between them all. It's just, you know, more stuff that just does make it really satisfying just watching everything sort of crumble. Just any comfort, any trust, any bond whatsoever, just completely gone. And that's when you finally get Clark. He sends the, you know, they're like to him, oh, you know, put that dog in the fucking kennels. He's, you know, I don't know why you didn't do it earlier. And again, Clark is like another character where it's like, you know, he does seem more, you know, he's more comfortable with, you know, his dogs, you know, he's dog handler, than he is with the, you know, with the sort of group. There is a good reason behind that, because even there's certain parts that I didn't really think about or notice the first time I watched it. But just like how, you know, he comes across very strange, you know, a bit abnormal compared to the others. And that is, you know, some of that is, you know, audience misdirection. You know, part is like, what's that guy? That guy's been taken over. It's obvious. And then you find out, oh, no, it wasn't. But so that's when you get the proper, you know, once he's been in that cage for a bit, even the way he sits down is just, you know, again, just sort of every movement, every position, you know, wherever he is, he's just got this sort of dead stare, like a stare. I don't know. I can't think. I don't think I've ever seen my dog have that kind of stare. So I guess it is just the wolf part. You know, it's just the wolf half of the dog that's why it can have that just I don't, just that, you know, that death stare where it's like there is something seriously going wrong with this. So that's when we get the sort of transformation. You know, all the dogs are like, oh, this, what the fuck's going on here? You know, they're all barking. You got dogs trying. So yeah, I kind of want to see that part if I can actually get it. So yeah, that's the bit there that just you know, the face starts fucking coming off. You got these. First time I've seen it, it is ghastly. It is horrifying. And then that's when you kind of see it turn into this thing. You know, the dogs are trying to get out. That's, you know, even you know, you got those tendrils fucking whizzing about and like the sound effects they use. And then even the, you know, fucking legs come out somewhere. So just kind of everything here is just like the first time you see it, it's like, holy fuck. I don't know who the fuck came up with this. So, you know, Clark hears all this barking, so he comes in. You know, there's a couple of dogs that are just fucking out of there. They're just like, we're gone. So then that's kind of what, you know, he eventually alerts them all. But yeah, it's just like the tendrils, especially just the way they're going about. So that's when they, you know, they kind of realize what's going on. And again, you still see the sort of, you know, how they do work together. You know, how quick they are to respond. You know, if someone says, you know, get like, you have Max say, get me the flamethrower. Flamethrowers there, people with fire extinguishers there. just all prepared. So then that's kind of when you get this. You finally get the reveal of it clearly, sort of mid transition, and just it is really. I don't know how some people come up with stuff like this, but it's just fucking gruesome. And I think the way they did this was, I think you do have a guy somewhere, somewhere around about here, and I believe it's just hand movement. That's kind of how they do it practically, and have it move it's just someone's hand moving sort of like that. So that's how I think they done that. I think there is some animatronics, I think they called it, sort of involved, like mechanical puppetry sort of stuff. So that's kind of the stuff they use for that. But the look of that fucking dog as well. I don't imagine it's a real dog. But yeah, it does make you wonder. So what, the stuff it is spraying, what is it? Is it acidic? It's hard to tell, but it does look like it does something to them. So then that's kind of what they come into. They burn it up. There's one dog that gets shot. That fucking Clark isn't too happy about. You do feel sad for the dog. So then that's when they finally come in with the flamethrower, and yeah, this bit here, if we can actually find a good frame of it, once the thing comes out. So that is supposed to be, oh, fuck it, it's such a, it's like a split second you see it. If we can just get it right. So that is what that's supposed to be, like dog tongues, and then dog teeth all up. That's the sort of, the sort of intention behind that is. Which I do wonder why they only have it on screen for like a split second. Because even that it is fucking horrendous. Just dog tongues with dog teeth stuck on it. But it kind of gives you an idea of what this thing, what this thing does. It's morphing into sort of something else. So it does give you that sort of idea of what they're sort of going for there. And then, you see it start to try and climb away. So they flamethrow it. And then they, again, straight in with the fire extinguishers. So you can sense that sort of teamwork bond there. Which again just does make it a lot better for when everything falls apart. But let's bring that back up. So yeah, it's pretty good the way they do it. And they're again just confused about what the fuck is going on here. And then even like the stuff like this, it does make you wonder what, it's essentially, what is it? It's almost like fucking lobster arms. This thing has got, what they're sort of cracking off of it. So they get a good look in it, and that's when they kind of figure out, right. So this is clearly not human. It's when they kind of figure out, oh right, this is a an imitation of a dog. You've got the real dog in there, and then you've got the sort of imitation that it was trying to do. They realize, oh, it was trying to imitate the dogs, so then it could sort of jump within that crowd and not really be picked out. So that's kind of what its goal was. But yeah, let me make sure I ain't missing anything here. I haven't got too many notes anyway, because a lot of the stuff you can just go off sort of pretty easy. I mean, I only just watched it the day, so I should be pretty much up to speed. So it's kind of this scene here that you get. They're treating the dogs the dogs that survived, which is only really a couple. You've got Blair. That's it, Blair. You've got Blair. He's like, how when did you put this dog like in this cage? You know, how, like, he's like, oh, well, last night. You know, last night was when I put it in. Um, you know, he's just hitting them with all these questions like, you know, were you alone with a dog? How long were you alone with a dog? And that's when you start to realize, oh, it's this guy. This guy. You know, again, it's clearly a misdirection. It's clearly to get the audience to think, oh, it's got that guy, just because he does come across, you know, a bit different than the others do. You know, he's a bit more, you know, slow talking, comes across a bit alien like. But you know, that's mainly down to he's not very, I suppose, sociable. You know, I suppose that's probably what you'd go with it. Oh, you've got what animals look like that in the. Oh, right, I see. A grotesque animal, right? Really? I may have to actually look that up because that does sound fucking weird. Yeah, animal hybridation factory. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't really be surprised at something like that. So, but yeah, you start to notice that that Blair is starting to now realize maybe one of us have been infected. You know, maybe that's what's happened. So he's kind of a bit more quiet. You know, for you know, parts of the movie. You know, he's kind of kept it to himself. He hasn't really unleashed it onto everybody else. I suppose part of the reason for that is, you know, how people react. You know, he's kind of like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't, because that is just going to cause panic and chaos. Which, you know, I suppose he kind of goes into that, has a bit of an episode. But you have them sort of going over the video, you know, the portable video unit they had, and sort of all the notes and the paperwork they came across. So that's how they figure out what this Norwegian expedition have been up to. You know, they've dug a big hole in the ice. You know, there's something in it, and then you know, it shows them digging up the big block of ice. Which yeah they put, what do they put, like, thermite charges in the ground, and that's sort of where we see the spaceship. So Mac is kind of like, right, we're going up there now. You know, we better make a move on up there. Which they do, and then that's when you get the shot of this big fucking just this big spaceship in the ground. I forget the sort of tricks they do for that. I think it is something like you cut out the middle, and then, you know, the middle section of the sort of what you're looking at is all sort of drawn. So you know, they come up to the hatch. Is he, yeah, I think he's a biologist. I think so. You know, he's like, you know, based on the, you know, the ice that we're looking at here, this has probably been here under the ice for, you know, around 100,000 years at least. So it's definitely very old. We then get, you know, a quick shot of, you know, where this hole that they dug, how they sort of dug around it. So then that's kind of when they, you know, they get back, they tell them all about this. You know, you've got like Childs. He's like, this is all, you know, fucking voodoo bullshit, which I am surprised, you know, based on what you've seen so far. I don't necessarily know why you wouldn't believe it. But he does. He takes his time to really, you know, realize it. They also set up this as well. Sort of, you know, we eventually find out. Oh, you know, when it doesn't imitate the clothes, so the clothes are all, you know, ripped off. You know, you got the chef that comes in. He's like, you know, who the fuck left these, you know, these dirty, torn up drawers, you know, just in my kitchen. So they kind of set that up, you know, for later on, because that is a sort of idea that gets brought up. But again, you've still just got Blair kind of keeping things to himself. He's not quite sure yet. He's not quite certain. So he's kind of asked, what do you think? What do you think's happened here? And then that's kind of when we go into the the next scene. Let me just turn that over. But yeah, everybody's just like really wants to know what's going on here. Mac is just essentially, he's like, I assume this spaceship came down. The passenger or who was flying it hopped out and landed there, and then was frozen in ice. So that's kind of when you get to see sort of how this process happens. You get your sort of what's at stake as well. But it gives you a good idea of what's happened. It takes over one form, then it moves on to taking over another form, and it just sort of spreads. And it's we later find out more stuff about it, which we will get to. But yeah, just with this sort of visual, it gives you like a good idea of what actually how this works, what actually happens. So he's kind of figured it out. He's trying to figure out like the probability that one or more team members may be infected by the... Oh, it fucking went away there. Yeah, how many... Like the probability that some team members are infected, and it's like 75%. So it's probably not something he wants to see. And then he sort of finds out, the projection, if the intruder organism reaches civilized areas, the entire world population infected 27,000 hours from first contact. So, we then get sort of what the stakes are. Basically, it's, if we don't kill this thing, if we don't contain this thing, then, we're pretty much, it's over. I mean, 27,000 hours, the whole population infected by this thing. That's how bad it would be. It would be very world-ending. So that's kind of what that gives us. It gives us a good idea of, how this is really going to end up. Essentially, no one can really make it out of here because we don't know who's infected. It seems as though some don't know when if they are infected or not, at least from the early stages. So essentially, it's not really going to go well for all these guys that are here. It's just not going to go well. So they're now moving all these body parts and all that into storage. So he takes that off. The radio guy, Windows, he gives it another look over. They're wondering why are we not just destroying this thing? Part of the reason is because it's the find of a century that the guy in the background says. Find of the centuries. Someone could win a Nobel Prize with that. And then you do start to, they let out some information quite early. I suppose we're not too far removed from it. Too far removed from when everything just sort of devolves into chaos. We find out, we already know Gary's in charge, so we know he's got the keys for everything. That's there's a sort of reason for that, because we do get something where it comes up later on, and then sort of while he's pissing about in the background, you got that seeping, blood. Clearly this thing isn't dead. So Mac has been asked out here because, Blair's gone missing. So the other, I think, biologist, he finds Blair's notes that have all this stuff in them that, basically they're now finding out what we already know, that, any of us could be this thing. It could be any of us. We wouldn't know about it, and also that that within these cells, like we just seen, there's still activity within them, meaning that it can still spread. So that just sort of adds a bit more to it. that they really need to I suppose it's just giving you that sense of this needs to be destroyed, like completely. Everything and anything needs to be completely wiped off the map. So then that's when you have the, sees him in the background. Again, just it really is horrifying, some of the stuff. Mainly the first time you see it. After a while, it's like, yeah, that's that, I suppose. So he runs out, he gets Mac about, what's happened. And they, again, we're sort of slowly building up to them realizing, it could be one of us. We're sort of gradually getting there. I'm surprised we've been going this long, because I didn't imagine it take us too long to get through. It's very, unlike most films today, it's very efficient in what it's trying to do. So then that's when you kind of get Invasion of the Body Snatchers sort of vibe from this. You got why am I forgetting his name? I just keep blanking on his name. But he's got these fucking what look like claws, hanging out. It's just that scream. Like the scream that they go for with the majority of these monsters are just like really like terrifying. Just if you were to hear that fucking sound, you would shit it. So they just very quickly burn him. Just burn him. He's gone. But again, it still kind of takes the group a while to really consider what this means. Which I suppose by if you were just introduced to the sort of shock at what the fuck's going on, I suppose it would take you a while to really accept what the possibility is here. So they're like, right, well, we need to burn this all up. We can't hold onto it. It just needs to be all destroyed. Which of course ends up not mattering too much, because it's already infected someone. Someone's already infected by this thing. So yeah, they burn it all down. I believe, that's when one of the doctors comes up with the idea of there could be some test that we could do to figure out who's who, what one of us is infected. We went over that Blair has been missing, which Mac catches, sabotaging the helicopter. Blair has realized it's like we can't leave here. He does it in a bit of an insane manner, but he's kind of accepted that we can't let anyone go. He eventually destroys the tractor. He kills the rest of the dogs, and then he sort of trashes the radio room, the sort of room that so they can contact people. So he's just fully went into the mode of it's over. We got to destroy everything. Make sure no one comes here, at least for as long as possible, because you're gonna end up with a rescue team. They do mention it that. Or like a rescue team, which would come in the spring. So eventually, it could get out of here. So he's just fucking trashing the place with his axe. He's fired the last of his bullets. I always like the way they sort of do shooting sometimes. It's honestly the Frank out of It's Always Sunny. Just the fucking. He's throwing the bullet. So yeah, they gotta figure out a way how to calm him down, how to sort of calm him down, sort of make sure he's not harming anybody. So they eventually get him. He ends up getting he gets a couple of punches in the face. I do kind of laugh at that part. Just Mac coming in. Couple of punches, put him on his ass. So you got Clark. He's I suppose this just pushes him a bit further. They Blair has come in, killed his dogs. So yeah, then that's when they take him up to the tool shed and lock him in there. Just he can stay in there, can't hurt anybody. We'll lock him in. And that, I suppose that's when the first time they saw, he brings, I don't know who I can trust, and that's kind of the idea we're throwing in there is, what do you do, or what do humans do in a situation where all trust is just gone. So that's kind of where we are, and they're just gradually starting to process it more. Like, you got Child saying, so if this thing was a perfect copy of me, sounded like me, looked like me, everything, how would you know, it was me or not? How, would there be any sign that it wasn't me? Unless I just, sort of came out, as the thing does. Is there sort of any way of telling that? Which, of course, the answer from what we see is no. There's really no way to know, because this thing can imitate someone perfectly. From voice to mannerisms for the most part. It's just completely takes over everything. So yeah, I think that's when it's brought up, like, about a test they can do. So yeah, the doctor brings up, well, I could go and get this fresh blood, take blood from everybody else, and then put that blood in like fresh blood, and then maybe we would see some type of reaction. But of course, that's when we finally get to the part. It's honestly my favorite part of the film. I just sort of love how everything's done. So the doctor comes in. He's like, someone's cut all the bags of blood. We now have no uncontaminated blood to use for this test that I was going to do. Clearly something has went on here. Something doesn't want me to do this test. And then that's sort of when everything just goes haywire. Everybody sees all this, and then that's kind of when sort of fingers get pointed mainly at Gary, because it's that's kind of the thing here, is that the doctor, or Gary, is the only person that has the keys on him at all times, and he gives the keys only to the doctor for this specific where they keep the blood. So that's when people are like, only you two have got access to this. Of course, there's the aspect that, well, someone could have lifted these, which is kind of what they go for, is, well, someone must have lifted these. But even just the acting is done well, especially with Gary, is that he's like confident he didn't do it, but he's also kind of like, was it me? I don't remember doing it, but if this thing has taken over me, how would I know? So there is that sort of, there is that thought within the group as well, where they're not sure if it is them or not. They're not quite sure about it. So you've got kind of like Childs is just, he's saying, you're the only one with the keys. It fucking must have been you. You get Clark comes out. He's like, he's sort of on the edge as well. I think part of because of what's happened to his dogs. So he kind of has an outburst at Childs for blaming everyone, just blaming everyone, and then you've got Windows, which is, he's like, oh fuck, he's kind of like fully went to, I can't fucking trust anyone now. I just can't trust anyone. But yeah, the acting from Gary, especially, just the sort of, you can tell what the thought process is. What it is that he's thinking. So that's kind of, so we're kind of now just at the part where it's like they finally just everything's just snapped. There's no trust whatsoever. It's just gone, and now we can start to see, what's the reactions of these people going to be? What are they going to do? What steps are they going to take to sort of ensure their survival? So that's really the thing that I do really like about this film. It's just the situation, the time bomb you just throw into this crowd of people, and you just sort of get to see, based on the human psyche, what that does to people when they suddenly learn, these people that I've been, up in this isolated place with, I can no longer trust they are who they say they are. You can imagine in that situation, you just be like, what the fuck am I going to do here? It could be all of them that have changed, but me, or it could be me. But yeah, that's when Gary kind of relinquishes his sort of authority, because he's the commander of this research base. So he's like, he realizes, oh fuck, I've been pointing this gun at everybody. He puts that down, and then he says, oh, right, I'm gonna, get rid of my power, and he says, I'll give it to you. And like, even like rewatching this now, I'm like, yeah, it's obviously him. It's just like the look on his face. He's unsure about himself. When he's asked, oh, do you want to be in charge? He's like, I don't think I'm up to it. But I think that's how we sort of find out that this thing can take out of you, and you're not like take over you, and you're not quite aware, if it has, there is a certain thing there that it seems like there's still a you. It seems that kind of comes across what it is. But yeah, just from that, once you've seen it a few times, you can kind of see a bit more, I suppose. But just sort of the way he's sort of unnerved, just like, again, the acting it's like it just comes across like, oh, it's him. He seems a bit unsure, of himself. So yeah, they burn the blood. And then I think that's wait, yeah, you now have like Mac. He's taken control. So yeah, he eventually. Well, it's like they fully come to terms with that. There's someone among them that isn't one of them, or more. They could be countless. So that's he puts Clark. Mainly Clark has been picked. Mac was told that by Blair that watch Clark. But how wrong was he? But again, I really like the way they did that sort of that scene earlier on. How long were you with that dog? And it's just like Clark's answers. It's just like, is it this guy? Is it this guy that's been affected? So yeah, they've taken those three in, the Doctor, Gary, and Clark. Put some morphine in them to relax them, make sure they're not too much danger if they turn out to be the thing. And tie them to chairs. You've got Mac. Then he's recording audio just in case they all end up dying, and there's something there that tells people what happened here. He's also still kind of fiddling about with these leggings that he was given that are all torn apart and everything like that. So he's kind of the first, one of the first, aside from Blair, that comes to the sort of conclusion. It's like, yeah, we're not going to leave here alive. We've all pretty much got to die, and he kind of gets there gradually. Just like fully coming to terms with that. And yeah, I even found myself sort of laughing at parts like this, where Mac comes in and the doctor just fucking shits himself. It's just what. So it's like, it does sort of convey that, just that sort of how on edge people are. They just can't trust anyone. And I think he's kind of coming up with another way, another way to test people, to find out if they are this thing. So that's what he tells them. And then the yeah, like the lights go out specifically in the lab. You know, he grabs himself a thing. What do you call it? I don't know why I've just lost the word now. So yeah, you have someone like clearly trying to bait him out here. So clearly it's something at play that wants to get him outside. He finds like clearly McCready is being or Mac rather. Clearly he's being like the thing is going right. Maybe I frame this guy. So it's the you know this thing that has taken over people. It clearly has some intelligence there, where maybe it's I can make it look like it's him if I sort of tear up the clothes. You know, he's already got these leggings that all ripped apart, and then that will lead some people to go, oh, it's Mac. That's who it is. And again, just sort of in this scene as well, that like no one wants to go with anybody. You know, Mac's like, I want you two to go over and do this, and us two or three, we'll go and check on Blair. But yeah, you've got why am I forgetting his name now? Fucking hell! You know, whenever there's names involved, I just have a hard time remembering. But yeah, again, it's just utter fucking chaos. They're still, you know, again, just that trust is gone. It's completely dissolved. So Mac's just like, you know, watch whoever you're with, watch them and watch them close and see what they do. But yeah, it's you know, some of this stuff I just do have to laugh at as I go through it. Just the sort of reactions. I'm not going with him. You know, it's just kind of the sort of natural response. But they go and check on Blair. You know, he's like, you know, I want to come inside now. I want to come inside, but instead they just, you know, they leave him out there. Yeah, and then that's when they come across the remains of the, you know, the doctor we just seen. We see the remains of him where, you know, it's kind of hard to tell what happened. You know, clearly he was sort of jumped by this thing. And they kind of come to the conclusion that, you know, maybe he did this to himself so the thing wouldn't get him. Or maybe, you know, I wouldn't that's probably the safe bet, because I wouldn't imagine this virus thing would want, you know, it would want to take over you. You know, the more it can multiply, the sort of better it is for its survival. So the safe bet is that the doctor probably burnt himself. But, you know, he went quite quickly. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure from sort of when they leave and come back, it's like 45 minutes. That's sort of how long they've been gone. So you get, you know, Mac and the chef, they go up to his shack, because he's like, I didn't leave that light on yesterday when I left. But yeah, so now they're sort of getting ready. They're you know, they're gonna make sure all these doors are closed, that no one can get in. Sort of preparing for that. They have so that's kind of the first thing with this guy, where it's like, oh, there's something wrong with him. There's something clearly and it seems to be, you know, his stomach, because there's fucking nothing there. That's probably what it is. So yeah, the chef has just ran back. You know, again, it's like, yeah, there's no. I'm surprised you would really do it anyway, but I suppose you don't really have a choice, do you? But yeah, he finds that Max stuff, Max, you know, ripped up t-shirt, whatever. He finds that, and that's the reason why he just fucking bolted. Just gone. So yeah, so then by the time he gets back, by the time Matt gets back, they're just like, we're not letting him in. You know, we can't let him in. You know, which again, it's like, yeah, that's obviously going to be the reaction. You know, it's either we let him out, we leave him out there and to die, or we let him in and we die. You know, we can't possibly know. So it's the safer bet is to just leave him out there and let him freeze to death. But yeah, he manages to get in a window, so out they are with the axe. Just again, just the sort of chaos going on. They come and he's like, "I'll fucking blow us all up. Come near me, touch me, I'll blow us all up." So again, it's just everything is dissolved. Just any sort of trust between them. Which again, I just find that the sort of best part of this film. Aside from the the likes of the practical effects and things like that. But yeah, they try and grab him. He knocks over the geologist, maybe. The geologist guy, and he's kind of like unconscious. Again, it's like it's just becomes more and more apparent. Yeah, this is the guy. This is the guy that's infected. He may have infected others. But McCready is still, taking no chances with them. He's really sort of playing it safe. So then that's when they bring him in here. The doctor trying to pump his chest, revive him. I suppose this was some of the other sort of how they done some of these other practical effects. Let me bring it back down again. They're doing CPR on him, and then that's just when this happens, just straight through. Just straight through his body. I think I remember the way that they done that was basically they've got the actor lying there with they sort of create his stomach. And from what the guy said, basically, like, even the hairs on his chest, it's like everything is exactly the same as, what he is. So that, the way they do it, they have his head and his legs, and obviously his stomach is out of the way, and they've sort of molded this on top of him. So then the doctor's hands go in there. The way they did it with the doctor was, well, because inside that chest, I think it's like mechanical, so it has to close. So what they had like another actor that didn't have he didn't have his hands. So that's kind of how they did it. So this thing can just close, and then it tears these, fake hands off. But yeah, they made like a pair of hands out, again, jam. And then that's sort of what goes in there. And then when the actor pulls his hands out, hands are gone. And I think even the sort of secondary actor that they had for just who didn't have hands, they also like molded the other actor's face like to him, which it like you partly can tell, but yeah, that's kind of what it does. It just fucking rips into his hands. So it's just a pair of fake hands. But yeah, so even like some shots of his face, it's like you can kind of tell, somewhat. There's something a bit off about his face. And then that's when again the fucking tendrils come flying. This stuff just fucking explodes, out into the room. And yeah, that's when you get another just fucking grotesque. I don't know what's went wrong with the teeth there. But yeah, that is just climbs out. Just, look at that thing. It's even got fucking hair on it. It's got these legs sticking out. So just horrifying. They set him on fire, and again, it's just like the screams that sort of come out of it. I'm not sure how they like done the screams with that, but there is just a certain sound to it. So you end up with his head coming off, and the way that they do that is there's a couple of guys like under the desk, and they're sort of pulling it off, and like that's like melted down plastic. and bubblegum. I think that's how they sort of crafted that. So his head just ends up on the floor, grows a pair of legs. But yeah, it's honestly like what feels like 5 minutes of just this fucking head pulling off, and then it hitches its tongue to like over to the drawer, pulls itself under, sprouts out a couple of legs and a couple of what look like eyes. So it's almost, spider-like. Well, it's only got 6 legs, but near enough spider-like. But yeah, just it's. But I'm not quite sure how they sort of did that with a head. And then that's we probably get my favorite line in the film, where you gotta be fucking kidding. I do love that line. Just sort of the way the line is delivered. But yeah, it's just sort of crawling out. And they all turn around. So that's sort of where they're at now. You know, they burn that thing as well. So now they're kind of at the stage where, right, we gotta, Max fully taking control is like, you all tie yourself to these seats. You know, we're gonna sit here until we find out who's who, or who's, who they say they are. So this is when, he puts the gun to Childs, is like, you're gonna have to kill me then. So he puts his gun up, and then that's when you get, Clark sort of lunges at him with a knife, so he's ended up getting shot. Which, I mean, it would be almost safe to say he wouldn't be infected then if he's, you would imagine something would have sprouted out of him. But he's tied them all down. He's taken blood from them. And then, put them in these little, test things. And then he's gonna use his flamethrower, heat up a bit of metal, stick it in there, and then sort of see what the reaction is. Which is that's probably a good way to go based on what's happened. His sort of reasoning is, if this thing is attacked, it's probably going to try to defend itself to survive. That's kind of what we've seen throughout the film. Is that it will do certain things to survive sort of any way it can. And when it's all it takes for a person to be infected is a cell. That's all it really takes. So he tries that out a few times. Some of them are safe. He tries out the doctor and then Clark. They're both fine. Obviously, with Clark, he's now like, shit, I've murdered this guy. Now that he's turned out, but at the end of the day, what are you gonna do? He did lunge for you. So then he tries. I want to see if I can get a sort of image of this. He put, and that just fucking explodes up. It fucking desperately wants to survive. Yeah, so they've realised it's that guy, and then that's when he that's when he comes out. Fucking eyes popping out his head. Again, just all of the practical stuff is just utterly grotesque. That's really the description for it. So he sort of just comes out. Those two are fucking shitting it. Let us out of here before he gets us. He manages to get out, and then he grabs Windows, starts chowing him down. Just look at that. That is just fucking horrendous. So he chews him up. MacReady burns him. And then he sort of walks out. Again, the way they done that is it's basically a guy in a sort of flame retardant suit, I think, who basically has to hold his breath until they put the fire out. So it is a guy, on fire walking out of there. So he's down. Windows is kind of starting to turn. And he's now got to test the final three. So Childs ends up being fine. The same with Gary. But yeah, throughout this sort of entire part of the film, you can just see on their faces when he's going to test their blood, they're like, "Oh, it's not me. Don't be me. Don't be me. Don't be me." And you do see the sort of relief on their faces when it turns out not to be them. But where do we go to? Yeah, that's a sort of another sort of funny thing that he says when it comes. He's strapped down to this. He's now like clear. It's like it's not him. And then it sort of you start to hear him in the background. Now, I would like, and then it sort of pans over to him, not to be strapped to this fucking chair for any longer. So I quite like that part now, but we're sort of in the end game now. Where they go out to go and get Blair to then do the test on him. They arrive there, the door's open, so they're not fucking. They're like, where the fuck's this guy gone? The door was locked from the outside, which it's kind of apparent. Well, whoever was infected came here, unlocked it, and then took over Blair. That's kind of the sort of what I assume. They trip over some floorboards. They find this place down here. Clearly, the Blair or infected Blair has been working on what looks like a spaceship. So my assumption is this thing is trying to find a way to get out of this place. So they come through all this. We go through here. We see Childs that he then goes out of the compound. The generator's now been turned off. So they're basically just stuck with these blue lights. Or other. I think the generators are gone out now. But yeah, they know that someone spotted Childs leave. But they're a bit preoccupied at the moment. Max explaining to them, we're not going to make it out of this. Like by the time it reaches like midnight, it's going to be like minus whatever degrees, and we're going to freeze to death. He comes to the conclusion where that's what this thing is going to do. It's going to, because it's got no way to get out of here. What it's going to do is it's probably going to freeze itself in the ice till the rescue team come, and then that's sort of how it will ingratiate itself throughout civilization. So they want to make it as hot as possible. So that's sort of what their game plan is. They're going to set fire to the entire base, make it really hot. So there's sort of no chance, at least for now, for this thing to freeze itself in the ice. They want to make sure they kill it. Even if that does mean them, because they're all well aware of if this thing gets out into civilization, it's all over. They're kind of fully aware of that. So we see them sort of torching the place. And then they go down here finally. They realize the generator's is gone. The generator's just gone. Just this big generator. But let me bring that up again. So that's kind of what they're doing. They're just they're told where to put these bombs, just so they can take this thing out fully. So we get a quick scene of Gary's death. He's distracted and taken over there, and then Blair comes up, sticks his fingers fucking through his face. Again, just horrific, because it's almost like the fingers are sucking it out, like sucking his face sort of into his fingers. So he's gone. The same with the chef. He then walks down. He gets, he disappears. Mac mid-sentence is like, I said, how is it? And then he's sort of like, oh, fuck. I'm on my own now, it seems. So that's when you get you get a big tendril this time. That comes up through the floorboards, throws him. And also one of the fuses is lit as well. And then that's sort of when we get the final shot of the final boss. If we get a good look at that. Let me see, where is it? Because it's pretty much, it's everything, sort of every DNA it is turned into, it's just this ultra dog with a mini dog and human face. And I'm pretty sure this was done with stop motion. I may be wrong on that. I may have misheard. But I'm pretty sure that's how they do it. This head comes out. Just fucking horrific. Fucking, moving its head about. And then, we sort of get to the final part where he throws the fuse, goes, fuck you too, and then runs off. And then that's sort of when we go into the kind of, we see the entire base just exploding. You would think by then that, Matt would probably be dead. But that's kind of what raises the question: is he the Thing? That's kind of what, it's kind of left up to your sort of own interpretation. It's quite hard to figure out for certain if he's one of them or not. The only sort of thing I have that he could be is he's kind of the one that says, let's just sit here a while, because then he's going to freeze, which is that's something that the Thing wanted. It wanted, because it had no way out of here. It just wanted to freeze in the ground until someone else found it, and that's sort of what it was doing. So, again, I think it is just supposed to be, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I think that's kind of the idea behind it. So then, again, it's Childs has been missing as well. So we don't know if he's one of them or not either. So I suppose it's just kind of, I would guess it's just left like that. Because in a way, that's kind of what the film's been doing. That's kind of what the characters have been doing. They don't know who they can trust. They don't know who's who, like, if someone is who they say they are. So that's kind of keeping within the same sort of idea. Is now the audience don't know. We can't be sure. One of them might be. They might not be. We can't possibly know. So they just kind of sit down, have a drink, and essentially wait to die, because that's, they got nowhere to go, nowhere to get any warmth. This fire will be put out soon enough, and then they're, just going to freeze to death. And from what I heard about it, I think there was an alternative ending where MacReady gets, he does survive, and he turns out not to be the Thing. Because I don't know what it, because I've heard that about loads of films where what was the other film I heard about it? The Descent. The director in that, like, where there was an alternate ending that came out in America, where, I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but basically the original version that came out in the UK, because it was a UK based film, was a lot more, I suppose, a depressing end, but they changed it for, you hear about but they changed it specifically for, like, American audiences. So I think there was a similar situation with this film where they did shoot a more, I don't know, hopeful ending. But I would honestly say this is the better way to end it, because it does, again, the entire idea the film has been playing with is the idea of trust. So it's, again, it leaves the audience with that as well, that, you know, I don't know if Childs is. I don't know if McCready is. I just don't know, and I've got no way of figuring out. So I definitely think this is the better way to go than McCready survives and he goes back off to civilization. And that's kind of where we get our ending. John Carpenter's The Thing. So we made it. We made it through The Thing. An hour and 25 minutes. I kind of thought that. I thought it'd take us about an hour and a half to go through The Thing, wouldn't it? You know, because that's kind of that's. I find it hard. I'm trying not to say that's the thing I find about The Thing. That's kind of the problem you run into with this film's title. But yeah, like with The Thing, it's like very straightforward. You know, it's you know, it knows what it's trying to get across. So it's a very efficient film. It's honestly like really well paced. Like just the entire build up, just the gradual build up to people just losing their fucking minds and just, you know, trust all gone, thrown out the window. So that's kind of what you get with The Thing. Is it's very straightforward. It's not trying to be complicated or complex. It's just right. This is, you know, what we want to do with it. You know, that's kind of just what they done. But yes, we made it through The Thing. I think the only thing I wish I did do was watch the original film, which I believe came out in 1954. I would have liked to have watched that and possibly read the short story and possibly watched the remake of this remake. I think that would have been quite interesting to see what they do. Because yeah, from what I know about the 1954 film, it is quite different to what this film is. The 1954 film, it doesn't have a thing that sort of like imitates other people, like separate. It just imitates like it imitates like a human, but not a specific like DNA strand of a human. Just its own thing, just made to look like a person. Whereas in this, they go for, which I think is a lot more faithful to the short story. Is like in the short story, I think it can imitate any species, any person. So I think this is a lot more faithful to that, you know, short story. You know, the remake of this film, I wouldn't be able to tell you what happens in it, because I mean, if I actually if I do have a little look, because I wouldn't mind knowing, because I can't remember, because I mean, how many has there been? There's been a few. Let me just, why is it not coming up? Yeah, I should have looked this up. Film series. Yeah, so yeah, you got The Thing, and then the Thing remake 2011. Yeah, I wish I kind of thought about it too late, where like kind of on the day, like today, I was like, oh shit, I could have watched the 1954 film, and you know, at least the 1954 film, and then possibly the remake. Although I think the 2011 films, is that not more of a sequel from what I've heard? You know, it's somewhat of a sequel. I don't think it was. No, it's pretty much just the same plot. But yeah, that would have been interesting to see sort of what they take from this film, what they change. You know, I don't think I've heard. Well, I've kind of heard mixed things about the 2011 thing. I would have to give it a look, but that is the Thing 1982. I'm trying to think what more I can kind of say about it, because I'm pretty sure I've just covered everything. You know, we went over, you know, we went over the plot and just, you know, the idea of the film's, what the film's going for. I kind of done all that in my fucking intro. So I got that out of the way early. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't think I've got much else to say about it. It's just a really good film. My favorite horror, which I haven't seen that many, so you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another horror film out there that I prefer to this, but this is just, it is just really good. Just the amount of effort, the amount of time, the amount of work that went into it. You know, especially when you do find out stuff, the sort of behind the scenes stuff. Just like the guy that done all the practical effects, I think he just slept in a studio for like a year and a half working on all this stuff. So there's just, you know, watching the behind the scenes, you just see the sort of the amount of passion in it. You know, again, it's just something else that does add to the value of it, and it's just good that it, you know, turned out, you know, a good film. And definitely a film that's, you know, it's not going to be forgotten anytime soon. It's going to be a film that will be referenced non-stop. That's why I wasn't sure about doing a breakdown for The Thing. I wasn't too sure about it just because it's like everybody's done it. You know, everybody's went over it. Everybody's talked about it. So I was kind of like, should I do it? You know, I was kind of like, right, I'm not going to do it. And then I thought, fuck it. It's my favorite one. I might as well talk about this one out of all the others. It's just, yeah, so it's one of those films. It's just like every channel's talked about it. Just everybody. But I'm kind of glad we went through it. But yeah, you know, kind of, I predicted it takes about an hour and a half. So we may as well finish off there. I'm going to be doing another one of these probably next week. Another horror, you know, just before October ends. So I'll do another one of these. And then I suppose after that, it will be on to the Marvels. So back to shite. That's what we're in for, unfortunately. But I will finish off there. And I suppose I will see you on the next one.